look, you know why I'm here, I know why you're here. Let's just get this out of the way now, so we don't have to feel like this going into the new year. This is the top 10 worst movies of the year.
Dude, that movie sucked.
Number 10, Sin City, A Dame to Kill. This movie took so long to get made that half the cast died. Unfortunately, so did the script and the director's ambition. The original Sin City was the new coming bad boy that broke the rules and showed the world how to do style in a way that stuck out with its audience. 9 years later, the sequel is a sad grandpa of special effects and stilted dialogue. Luckily, it tanked so bad at the box office that we won't have to put up with a third one. I don't think I could handle another 9 years of good actors dying. Number 9, The Purge 2. The trailer promised to correct the mistake the first movie made, which was just being a home invasion movie and not actually showing what the Purge is like. And they did deliver on that promise. It just turns out that nothing of interest happens in the city either. Unless dull characters portrayed by bad actors being chased by guys in masks with guns is your idea of a fun time. The problem still remains that these movies are trying to make some kind of a statement on the duality of humanity, when the stupidly ridiculous premise still shows it hasn't the slightest concept of what people are really like in the real world. Number 8, The Interview. This puts me in a precarious position. Do I talk about the movie itself and ignore the drama surrounding it, or is it irresponsible not to share my feelings on the behind-the-scenes issues to justify my feelings of the movie? Well, to put it simply, bad movies have existed since the invention of film itself. No matter how bad a movie is, as long as it's filmed and made under the legal constraints of where it was filmed at, it has the right to be released and to be seen. I saw it and got exactly what I thought I would get, yet another set of Rogue and Franco antics that we've seen done better before. It was just too dumb, especially Franco's character, who seems so stupid it's hard to believe he was supposed to pass for a real character and not a cartoon. On top of that, it goes a little too far in making fun of the country under question. I'm not defending North Korea's recent actions or their threats. Their leader's dad was a way better sport than he is. But the movie takes a few too many pot shots at very real issues. In many respects, it feels like it's trying to do the same thing to North Korea that 2012's Django Unchained did with racism. But Django worked because, well, the director of that movie was actually talented. But also, it worked because Django makes fun of our history, sort of like the Ghost of Christmas Past, showing you an embarrassing high school memory, nudging you and just going, hey, you remember that? Man, what were you thinking? The issues brought up in the interview, however, are very current and still very real. They really don't have enough food to feed their kids. People really are killed for thinking a certain way. On top of that, Django dealt with our history, not another country's history. The interview would have fared much better to have been about a fake country like West Korea or something like that, and have everything just be alliteration. That would have feigned some level of competence for a few years. Instead, we see it for how dumb it is right out the gate. And that's all it is. Dumb. Number 7, RoboCop. Contrary to what a lot of people remember, the original RoboCop offered a lot of satire on consumer culture and the mentality of corporate meeting bigwigs. It was far smarter than a movie called RoboCop had any right to be. So it's sad that a PG-13 remake of one of the bloodiest 80s movies ever is content with dropping any notion of satire or challenging thought, which might be fine if it offered something else clever in its place, but it doesn't. It stays decidedly neutral, takes no risks or directions with itself, wandering aimlessly like a robot shell. Number 6 is Hercules. Both of them. Both movies depict the character of Hercules as just a really buff dude. That's right, no gods, no demigods, no creatures of myth or larger-than-life fights. These are two Hercules movies where the demigod Hercules is just a strong dude. Fucking even Disney's Hercules got that part right, and when you're making Disney's Hercules look more accurate by comparison, you done fucked up. Number 5, Frank. I encourage indie films. They're the best place to go when you're sick of the same recycled mainstream Hollywood movie, when you want some originality and you want to be challenged a little bit more. But in this case, the only thing Frank challenged me on was my patience. It's the story of an up-and-coming band recording an album. But first of all, they sound absolutely terrible, and I don't mean like it's just not my cup of tea, I mean they are objectively awful.
Nice. Just the way you like it. Kiss me, lipstick, kiss me, lipstick, Ringo, that's the way you like it.
And in an underdog type story, you don't necessarily need the characters to be top quality, you just need the characters to be likable. If we like them, we root for them. Basic stuff. But even the basic stuff this movie fails at because there's not one single likable character in the whole movie. They're all such greedy, close-minded, selfish assholes that when one of them dies, all I could wonder is how much longer until the rest of them gets it. The only non-offensive character is the titular Frank, played by Michael Fassbender, but the movie spends so much time telling us that Frank is magical and fantastic, one of the most amazing people out there, and it keeps beating us over the head. Characters keep saying it over and over, but the movie never lets us really experience Frank or get to know him at all.
Frank finds inspiration in everything.
I find this inspiring.
And that's really kind of the movie in a nutshell. It's the kind of movie that's quirky and silly just for the sake of being quirky and silly. It has no rhyme or reason for its existence. It just keeps telling you that it's special, and that's supposed to be enough. If you get the chance to see it, give it a pass and a big fat middle finger from me. Number 4, Transformers 4. At this point, do I really need to explain why this movie sucks? Yeah, Shia LaBeouf's gone. That's about as much of an improvement as pulling a rusted knife out of your ass. It may be gone, but there's still plenty of problems left. And it's the same problems as before. It's too long, it's too loud. It's racist, it's dumb, it's sexist and not fun. Like an abused housewife, Michael Bay refuses to learn. Except unfortunately, he's not actually being beaten. Number 3, Need for Speed. I have no real attachment to the racing games that this movie is based off of, but illegal car races? I've heard of worse premises for a movie. I was up for some mental junk food and I like Aaron Paul, so this movie sounded perfect. Little did I know that it's a road trip movie. Yep, the entire movie is Aaron Paul's character driving across the country to get to an illegal street race. An illegal street race that they talk about on the radio, by the way. I'd feel better about the movie, too, if I wasn't 100% sure that Aaron Paul was an autopilot through all of his lines. I love you, man. I know you're a talented guy, but if these are the kind of movies you're gonna do to put food on the table, I'd rather you went hungry. Number 2, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I'd rather have a marathon of all the other movies I've named so far than watch even a minute of this insipidly awful movie ever again. It amazes me how amateur every aspect of the movie is. Characterization, pacing, blocking, development, framing, the plot. Oh god, do you want to hear what the plot is to this shit? Shredder wants to spray gas all over the city and the turtles have to stop him, I guess. Wow, what an original villain motivation that I've never seen before ever. A villain, by the way, that they had to recast because you whining bitches couldn't stand to have a good actor like William Fichtner play the Shredder, for the sole reason that he's not Japanese. Thanks for being racist, guys, but that still wouldn't have saved the movie from everything else that sucks. The turtles were April's pets that were experimented on, escaped when her father was killed by Fichtner, and were raised on kung fu from a book Splinter found in the sewer at random? That's the new backstory you're telling. Having them be aliens would have actually been better. Especially since now Shredder and Splinter have no relation to each other, you may as well. This is an even worse adaptation than the Super Mario Bros. Movie was, but even as its own standalone property, it sucks the shit ring off my toilet. The plot is riddled with holes, characters talk about events and things that they have no knowledge of unless they read the script. Mikey constantly tries to have sex with April, and it just wouldn't be a kid's movie if you didn't have to explain bestiality to your children. I could forgive a lot of the movie's problems if it was at least fun. But when you make a Ninja Turtles movie and you have it be almost entirely about April, the least fun thing about the Ninja Turtles, the rest is just a ball of shit rolling down the hill. And as bad as that movie is, there is still one that I found to be worse. Lo and behold, it's The Amazing Spider-Man 2. As much injustice as TMNT does to its franchise, Amazing Spider-Man 2 does far worse damage to the name of Spider-Man and to the concept of good, wholesome movies everywhere. TMNT may be bad, but at least it understood one basic element of each of the turtles, except maybe Mikey. But with this movie and Peter Parker, and all the other characters, they don't even understand the character on the most basic level. Spider-Man is light, fun, and cheesy with moments of drama and heartbreak. These Amazing Spider-Man movies, especially the sequel, is absolutely drenched with melodrama and teenage angst to the point where it almost slits its wrist with Linkin Park playing in the background. But sadly, I'm not that lucky. This is the kind of movie I fear the most. One that's shaped and formed when corporations look at circle graphs, pump money into a machine to create a product of what's trending, and sell it. I understand all movies are basically a business, but you can tell good movies apart from bad movies by seeing where the creative spark is that ignited the fire in the filmmakers to make the movie in the first place. Whether that spark is a visual aesthetic, a theme in the writing process, a real life experience, pot, or whatever, making money should never be the first priority. That's all The Amazing Spider-Man 2 is concerned with. And even if you don't care about your money, go ahead and give it to them. Enable them further and see where it gets them, where it gets you. I've put better investments into my bowels than I did with this movie, and I'll burn every copy I come across because it depresses me that a simple dance sequence gets an entire series panned, but bad writing, bad characterization, and a corporate boardroom philosophy of filmmaking gets widely accepted.
Okay, there you go. Worst movies of the year. Are you happy? Good. Get out of my house. I'm serious.